I know specifically, I believe in New York, you're allowed to get an abortion up to 9 months. I'm pretty
Yes.
positive.
It's not legal. You guys don't know how abortion works because that's exactly what late term abortionists do. I shouldn't have a say, which is why I've kind of been sitting here silent and letting Becca do the conversation because we know that you guys care about women and men only have a say if they're pro-choice. So,
Hey,
anyways, I am
Caleb, you're
cutting.
dying.
I know my Wi-Fi sucks. I live in the middle of nowhere. I will be ending the live at 12. Just by the way.
Okay. I just wanted to say, like, actually, there was like a couple points, so hopefully I don't like miss them. When he asked the 3 points, one of them was, "Can you consent to a biological process?" And you guys said you can, right?
No. You can't consent to a biological process. That doesn't give me the
Right.
right to another person. Like, like, just because it's a biological process doesn't give me the right to end that person's life.
Sure. So can you give me an example of like anywhere where someone was forced to give up their bodily resources to sustain another person?
It's completely different. That's a completely different scenario
So
because
you
with
don't agree that like pregnancy uses they use their body to sustain another living
what
organism?
is the purpose of a uterus?
I don't know. Can you tell me?
The purpose of a uterus is to sustain another human's life. Like the literal purpose of a
Exactly. That's what I
uterus,
just said.
it's
So can you give me
for
an
me. That's the
example?
purpose. My body
Yeah,
is not
that's
my other any other bodily organs is not being used to sustain another person's life. That's not the sole purpose of that organ. The
so you
on the other
wouldn't
hand,
agree
that sole
that like
purpose.
it's using my bodily resources? Because I could give you so many different like sources on that. Like that's where like a lot of misinformation is coming in, and like that is like harmful for
So
both
so
sides. Like I wouldn't want that being spread if I was the host
give me an example.
of my bodily resources being used during pregnancy.
No, of someone else, of like why we shouldn't be forced to, like, give an example more specifically, because I'm saying should you be forced to
Of
do.
why we shouldn't be forced to give up our like what I asked you. Like, are you saying to give you an
I'm saying
example?
that there are people in the comments saying that should you be forced to donate your kidney, and that's like a completely irrelevant argument, because number one, the kidney's sole purpose isn't to sustain another human's life. You're
So
also.
let's say I sorry, go ahead. No,
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
Are you sure? Like there's like a lag, so it's like hard to like
You're
okay. So like let's say someone needed like my blood. Should I be or like let's say it was like my child. Hopefully I'm not like screaming. I have like my headphones in.
you're good.
Let's say it was like my blood specifically, because let's say like for some reason it's like a rare blood type, would I be like obligated or like forced to give them my blood?
But that argument's not really valid because no parent who has birthed a child and who's raising that child is going to deny that child anything that's going to sustain that
Sure.
child life.
No, sure. I would agree. Yeah, morally that would be wrong. Like I would give my child that too. But should it be legally enforced?
It's a completely different argument because, again,
Why?
from a legal standpoint, no parent in their right mind would deny their child that resource. So
Sure. So then legally,
it's not really a valid argument because it's not a legal argument, it's a moral argument. Abortion
well,
isn't
it
really
it
a
is
legal
because they're
argument, it's a moral argument, and the legality comes from its immorality.
yeah, well, unfortunately, like when they make it try to make it
As
illegal,
it should.
that gives up
I mean, when you're
um
killing over
well that's yeah,
3,600
that's your
babies, it's
opinion.
such
Yeah,
a
if I could
fact.
finish.
When you're ending the life of
Unfortunately,
3,600 babies daily, it should not be something that's legalized.
could finish. If I could finish. It's by making it illegal, you would be taking away the right to that person, pregnant person's bodily autonomy. Do you believe in the right to bodily autonomy?
It's not your body. When you're pregnant, it's
So
not
I'm
your
not using
body.
my bodily resources to sustain another
It's no
living
longer
thing.
your body. When you've consented to a sexual action that may or may not result in being pregnant, you consent to the fact that you may end up becoming pregnant. That's literally a biological
So
process.
can you like substantiate that claim then? Can you tell me how you can consent to a risk and a biological process at the same time? Or even just one or the other? Like, because you can't consent to a risk. You cannot, if I got into a car, like knowing that I was going to get into a car accident, did I consent to being hit? No. You cannot consent to risk. Or if I
Okay,
smoke like a pack of cigarettes,
the sole purpose of sex, right? The main number one purpose of sex that it was designed for or evolutionized, I don't care if you're like religious or not, so that's why I'm saying both, was to procreate, was procreation. So like it's pleasurable, yes, everyone will agree with that, but its sole purpose is for procreation.
um,
So
well,
by
okay, so then,
saying, can I finish? I'll let you finish. Can I finish? Is that okay? By
no, there's
saying that,
lag, so like, it's literally not my fault that you have a huge lag. So like, I'm not doing it on purpose.
so by you saying that, it's one of the main reasons that sex exists is to procreate and to continue creating human life. That's why women have a uterus. That's why sex works the way it
Can
does.
you give me that? Can you give me, like, can you substantiate? Can you
The
give
biological
me,
process.
um,
The biological fact.
sure. So can you consent to a biological process? Pregnancy is a biological process. Can you consent to it? Even if you knew the risk going into sex, you can't consent to a biological process. That is impossible. I can't tell my heart to stop beating.
That's like kind of the point though, is you can't consent to it. Like I'm confused on the baby isn't just like an organ or a part of the woman's body. Like it's a separate human being, right? And
No,
your actions cause, like, you can't bring him or her into a state of dependency and then take that dependency away. That's like you voluntarily giving someone your kidney and them becoming dependent on it and then trying to take it away even though that action will kill them. Like that's just not, it's, you can't do that.
well, I mean, you can though, because let's say like I was giving up my blood, like okay, I was giving up like I am doing a blood like transfusion, and like morally, would what you're saying, would it be wrong? Sure, but it's not like
So you
legally
just
wrong.
so you just said
Morals, like enforcing morals and like
you
laws.
absolutely should be enforcing morals in the law. That's kind of how
Yes.
law works.
When it comes to bodily, again,
It is
you guys
not
never
your
answered my question
body.
of
Not
can
your-
sure. Okay, perfect. But you never answered my question of give me one example, just one, where someone was forced to give up their bodily resources to sustain another um, living being.
Is that your only line? Like, is that the
Well,
only,
you
your
never
only,
answered it. I'm just waiting for you to answer it because then
So
I can
but
move on, but you
we
haven't
kind of
answered it.
we kind of
Bodily resources, would you, okay, let's just take it one step at a time. Would you agree that you were giving your bodily resources during pregnancy?
you're, I mean, I would argue that you're sharing them. I wouldn't necessarily say you're giving them
giving
up.
all of them up? No, because you're sharing them with another human being.
It's your resources and you are
That you're
sure
sharing.
sharing it, but you are giving, you do realize like if I share something, I'm still giving it to someone. You do realize that, right?
I mean, it's a like I guess I still think it's
Like I
different because
understand what you're saying. No, like
you're
I understand what you're saying.
no, your
But
argument that there's like, it's just completely different because like I said, pregnancy, you literally cause this fetus to become dependent on your body. Like on your body. Like I said,
If I remember
sorry, go ahead.
correctly, the host, no, and I'm so sorry again. Like the lag is real. So like once I like talk, I hear you, but like it's after the fact. So like I am sorry. I do not mean to interrupt. But if I do recall, the host said he doesn't make any exceptions, so he doesn't care about conjugal obligation. Then he can't use that
I,
argument. And I don't know if you make any exceptions, so I'm not going to say that for
I,
you.
I, I make exceptions for life endangerment, and then I'm choice tolerant when it comes to rape and incest. That's my stance.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I
So
guess
yeah.
selective abortions. That's what I advocate against.
Okay. And like, would you agree? Like, again, like okay, well, we're not going to go back to that because you guys won't answer it. But like, I personally, I'm different because well, I'm not going to say like I'm different like that. It wasn't like that. But pro-choicers sometimes have like different opinions, and I give more consideration or like consideration in general after we can even say err on the side of caution at 20 weeks when it's viable and it has consciousness. After that point, sure, it should be done by the gentlest means necessary. So whether that's like a C-section or induced labor, etc., like to preserve that life, to give that life a chance.
So
But before then, when it doesn't have those things, I, it's literally her choice. Like it's always her choice.
So
But
the only issue I
So
have with that argument is that I don't think that you should. So okay, to clarify, 50 to 60 years ago, viability was completely different than what it is now. Technology and resources is what causes viability, right? Like the stuff that we have now for preemies in the NICU, we didn't have back then, and preemies would die, right?
sure, yeah.
I don't think we can place value on a changing target.
When viability and like I mainly argue like cognitive awareness, but I do both. And then after that point, yeah, gentlest means necessary, like preserve that life. But it's still like her choice if that's still like revoking consent, which is what the terminating
see.
pregnancy.
Terminating pregnancy,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I guess. So, okay, so your argument comes from the stance that because a fetus, as of right now, isn't viable at a certain point, women shouldn't be forced to carry it. And I guess is your argument.
No, and again, I said viable, but and I do argue viability. But my main thing is like cognitive awareness, and viability is obviously still very important. But yeah, after it has that point, which there's been a few cases where it's been at like 20 weeks, but it's
Mm-hmm.
mainly cognitive awareness happens 24 to 28 weeks. But before then, like, why are we taking more consideration for something that isn't sentient versus
Why
like
does
a sentient
why
being?
does sentience agree? Because why does sentience matter? I could argue that a patient with dementia who's alive, right, and cognizant but not cognizant of reality, that they're technically not sentient. So by the argument of sentience, are you saying that it's okay and morally acceptable to euthanize a patient with dementia or Alzheimer's? Because they're alive, they are
No,
alive,
absolutely not. They have
but they're not cognizant of reality and they're not in touch with reality because their sentience is blocked.
sure, sure, but they still like feel pain and like they
A,
still
a
have
fetus
had
in the, a fetus
previous
in the womb still feels pain. I don't know if you've ever seen a video of an abortion, but
what
a fetus in the womb does feel pain.
what
When
we
you go in with forceps and you rip off that fetus's limb, that baby's limb, that baby feels that pain. I hope you know that.
that's like what you're saying at any at any point, like even before 20 weeks, before it has a prefrontal cortex, you're saying that it can feel pain.
Yes.
Can you substantiate that for me?
Like you're talking about like with the source.
Yes. But also, like, I don't know if you, because that is like outdated. I wouldn't necessarily agree. Like, tearing it limb from limb. But like again, without a brain cell, it cannot feel pain. So like, if that's how they have to do it, but the abortion pill, I would advocate. And of course, I'm not advocating for abortions. I just want to make that like clear. Like, we all want to see like the abortion rates go down. Um, but like the abortion pill, like it would not do that. It just cuts off like the resources and then it flushes it out. There's like two pills. So it wouldn't be cutting it limb from limb.
Which is even more actually dangerous for the mother and actually excruciating for the mother to go through.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is hard, but it's she wouldn't have to go in like certain circumstances. She can't go through like um induced labor like C-section, so they have to use the pill. Again, that's why I say it's up to the doctor and the pregnant person. Like law shouldn't be forced because then if God forbid someone does have like a miscarriage in Texas, like the doctor could potentially lose his license
Actually, no doctor
helping
will
her.
actually no doctor will lose his license for for removing a dead baby from a mother if it is a miscarriage. That's a complete falsehood, and that's not even true. A miscarriage and abortion are two
Can
completely
you
different things.
Yeah. No, I was not
Read
comparing
the
them.
Texas.
I was
Read
not
the
comparing
Texas.
them. But if like he could, okay, so like she could potentially be like, let's say, and I would like love a source for that as well.
It's the
But
bill.
let's
Read the
say,
bill. That is the source. Read the bill. Understand the words and the verbiage used in the bill, and the bill does not
yeah,
discriminate against.
I wouldn't come on here, yeah, and just not know what I'm talking about. Because they
So,
have like certain,
because I've read the actual bill and I know what the verbiage means, you're calling me uneducated. Have you read the bill word for
when did I
word?
say
Do you
that?
know
When did
what's
I say
actually in
that?
the
When
Texas
did I
bill?
say that?
You just
I
said I
literally
wouldn't.
never said that.
You just said I wouldn't come on here
Because
if I
you're
didn't know
like,
what I'm
no,
talking about. Did you read the bill, or are
dang.
you just going off of what you heard from CNN and MSNBC? Have you read what's actually in
Watch
the bill?
CNN. I actually do like peer-reviewed sources.
Okay, so have
So
you read what's in the Texas heartbeat bill and what's in the Texas heartbeat bill, the
yeah,
Arkansas
like
heartbeat bill, the
could I
Texas
repeat
bill?
it for you word for word? Obviously not. Like my memory, like I don't have a good memory.
That
I could
wasn't
pull it
my
up and read
question.
it to you right now, but
That's not my question. My question was,
I said sure. I said I have read it. I don't watch CNN. I don't use
sure
non-review
doesn't sure doesn't
peer-reviewed
mean
sources.
yes. Sure means I may or may not have read it.
Yes.
I
If
asked
you
you, did
want
you
it,
read it?
YES. Yes, I have read it.
So you just change your story because first you said sure, and now you're saying yes, I most definitely did. So which one is it?
The condescending tone when I've literally only been nice. I
But you seem not to have read what's in the bill.
but can
I was just asking for clarification.
I literally have, and then you got mad like that. I said, um, when I
Oh,
said,
I'm
well,
not
I
mad.
wouldn't be like on here uneducated. Okay, sure, but like you still haven't been able to substantiate if something doesn't have like brain, like a prefrontal cortex or like brain stems, how it could feel pain.
Because
Like
I don't believe that
I'm waiting for
sentience. I
that.
don't believe that sentience determines whether or not you're worthy of life. I don't care about sentience. I do
I
not
never
care
said
about.
that. I never said that, but you made a
I'm talking about
no,
me.
I never said that. You made a
I'm not
claim.
putting words in your mouth. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm talking about me. I don't care about sentience. I don't care whether or not the baby has reached the point of sentience, right? I think that any life, no matter at what stage in development a baby is in, that it should be protected by law and is worthy of life. That's me.
Yeah, but you didn't say that. You said it could feel pain, right? And I said, okay, can you substantiate that? And you haven't been able to substantiate that. So that's what I'm on right now because that is important.
Okay.
So, okay, wait, let me clarify something real quick. You believe that if something feel I don't remember how we got to the when the fetus feels pain. But you believe that if someone feels pain, then that's a reason for not aborting. Is that what I'm getting here?
No, I said like it would be gentlest, like again, like viability, like sentience and consciousness I take in consideration. So after those, it would be like gentlest means necessary, sure, when it can be like obviously like 19 weeks if you take it out of like the womb, it's not gonna be able to, I mean, sure, like could like by some miracle it happen, but like statistically it's not like in that
Right,
favor,
right.
in the
Okay, so
favor of like 19
I had
weeks.
I had kind of got lost because it's really laggy, but I had kind of argued that I don't think that value should be placed on something that's a moving target because viability changes when we get new technology. And your response to that was that we should just focus on what happens now, right? Was that kind of like your
Yeah, like short and yeah, I was saying like if we have artificial wombs in the future, sure.
okay? I'm not sure where we got to the pain topic, but I don't think like whether or not someone feels pain is a valid
Oh
reason
no, I don't either.
or not.
No, I don't either. We were like going down like and he said something I wanted him to substantiate because like then it does matter like to his points if he like can't substantiate the claim. That's like the only reason. I'm not like hyper focused on the pain. I just want him to be able to like substantiate that.
I got you. It's super laggy, so I'm like hearing all of your guys' responses probably like 30 seconds behind when you actually say it. So then I got lost. But I got confused on why we were focusing on pain because I think all so I don't know. I think that, like I said, viability is a tough thing to talk about when it comes to whether or not we should abort a fetus because obviously viability now is completely different from viability like even 20 to 30 years ago.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
but I don't know. I don't know. You seem like a little bit more what's the right word? Like I don't want to use the word tolerant because I think that comes across the wrong way. But you seem pretty open to the idea that like fetuses are human lives that deserve value, like they have value, right? Like you
Well,
would agree that
at like a certain yeah, like at a certain point. Like I wouldn't give it again, like using my same argument before again, it rarely happens, but I know people are gonna be like, it's happened before at 20 weeks. So like 20 weeks, like I before then, no. But sure, like me personally, like I would give it value and I think we should use the gentlest means necessary after that point.
okay. So what exactly is your like? What would you consider your stance as? Like for me particularly, I align my beliefs with departurism. That's kind of where I place my pro life stance on. I don't know if you have like you
Yeah,
sound
so
more
I use like
to me.
sorry, it literally keeps breaking up and like laggy, so I thought you were done. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You're good. No, I was just saying that you sound a little bit more like an evictionist.
Yes, I am. And then I also use bodily autonomy. It's I use them like hand in hand. It
Okay.
just depends on like what argument we're using like in that moment
Okay.
or like yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Specifically, since when you first came on here, your first argument was bodily autonomy, and I actually do have to go here in a couple minutes.
Yeah,
But
so do I. My yeah.
because your argument was bodily autonomy, and you had originally asked like I think it was something along the lines of where can you give me an example of someone who has been forced to use their bodily resources, right? Um,
Yeah, to
that,
sustain someone else, not like forced
this,
to use because that's happened, yeah. But like to sustain someone else.
um, so here's the reason why I think the bodily autonomy argument for pro-choice is like not necessarily. I think it's the best pro-choice argument. I will give you that, but I don't necessarily think it means that abortion is morally okay. And I don't do you know what the word the autonomy means, like the quality of state of being self-governing and then bodily
Yeah,
of a
of
religious
course.
body. Okay.
Yeah.
um so like obviously the strongest pro-choice argument I think is considered the violinist argument, I believe. I'm not sure. It's
Yes.
like if that's the one you're talking about, like where the man wakes up and finds himself hooked up to like a 7-year-old kid, never gave his consent, never met the kid before in his life. The kid might be an extraordinary kid, maybe he's like the next Leonardo da Vinci, but his life is dependent on the man's blood, right? If they unlink, the kid's gonna die. And so the argument there is, should the man be um, like legally forced to continue to sustain this kid's life, right? That's like the argument, right?
Um, like sort of. I don't necessarily use that argument. I personally, I don't know if you've heard of like it's kind of similar, like McFall versus Shimp. Have you heard of that
Just
case?
expand upon